Hi Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your November 2022 horoscope. My name is Cailin and today I'm going to be covering all of the major transits for November using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. You can watch this horoscope if you are an Aquarius rising, also known as Ascendant, an Aquarius Sun, or an Aquarius Moon. Generally speaking, I find that the rising sign horoscope is the most accurate overall. Having said that, though, I would always suggest that you watch your sun, moon, and rising sign horoscope just to give you a very well-rounded idea of what you can expect for the month ahead. So, let's start off by looking at Mars retrograde. Mars will station retrograde at the end of October on the 30th or the 31st, depending where you live in the world. So, Mars will be retrograde in your fifth house and it will be retrograde for 10 weeks. So that's the end of October until the 12th of January in 2023. So Mars will be trining you as an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising. So this is a very positive thing in the sense that the energy of Mars being retrograde will be a lot easier for you to handle. Generally speaking, Mars retrograde can lead people to feeling like their temper is a bit shorter, that they can get agitated more easily or frustrated more easily. And sometimes this can just have us feeling as though we are a little bit restless or unsettled. But with Mars being in your fifth house, this is to do with your creativity. So some of you could be working on a creative project, and this is something that you may enter into the editing phase for. So you may have written a book, maybe you were working on an artistic piece or music, and now it's time for you to edit and make changes on a different level. There could be a deadline that somewhat coincides with Mars being retrograde. So it could be that the deadline is around mid-January, which is when Mars will be direct again, or it could even be at the end of March in 2023 when Mars leaves Gemini. So essentially what you can expect with Mars retrograde is that for creative projects, it will be crunch time. You could be honing some new skills and talents though. Maybe you had learned something and now you're having to put that into practice. The fifth house is connected to our natural talents and gifts, so maybe you're just trying to develop these a bit more and take it to the next level. The fifth house is connected to romance as well as children. So if we're looking at romance, some of you could be getting back together with someone that you used to be involved with on a different level. If you're already in a relationship, but you've been experiencing difficulties in that relationship, this could see you trying really hard to make it work with your significant other. Obviously, this is a general reading, so not all of it is going to apply, but on the romantic front, basically this is you putting in that extra effort, wanting to make things work, or you could be trying to actually break up with someone during this time, because Mars can represent breakups and retrograde is either bringing something back from the past, we're trying to break down the foundations of something that's existing, or we're trying to fix it. So these are sort of like the three energies that Mars can be exhibiting or leading you to exhibit during this period of time. Some of you could be recommencing a sexual relationship, even if you're not getting back with an ex. And the same can be said for someone that you've been flirting with a lot. So basically, not only is the fifth house connected to romance and dating, but Mars is a very sexual energy. So with Mars ruling over your third house, which is connected to friends and co-workers, as well as people that you have frequent contact with, as in your local surroundings, this could see you, feeling as though the spark has reignited with someone. Okay, so there could be some sexual frustration with Mars being retrograde in your fifth house, but by the same token, you could just feel like you're into that person that you used to flirt with, or things are sort of like starting to reignite. The spark is starting to reignite. So on a different note, the fifth house is connected to owning our own business. And Mars is obviously in Gemini, and Gemini is all to do with communications, and Mars rules over the third house of communications. So you could be working on reinventing your business, rebranding. You could be in the throes of producing a new product or a service or creating something for your business. And now with Mars retrograde, you're either at the pointy end of things, or you could be in the editing phase. So you could have written a book and now you're editing that book, or perhaps you have a deadline to have a book finished, just as an example, when Mars is going direct in January. The fifth house is also connected to sport and performances of all kinds. So it really rules over stages and therefore the entertainment industry. So the fifth house is connected to sport, acting. It is also connected to like musical performances, and it would also be connected to public speaking, given that Mars rules over the third house. So when Mars is retrograde, it's like we're practicing for something, or we're trying really, really hard to execute something and to perfect it. So this can see you just training extra hard for maybe a sporting event or an athletic performance, or maybe a dance performance or a public speaking event. Obviously, I've just said that. So there's a number of different ways that this can play out. Lastly, I just want to say that the fifth house is connected to not only our natural gifts and talents, but also fun, leisure, vacations. And the fifth house is also connected to our confidence. So with Mars retrograde here, you could be trying to develop certain skills and talents, but also trying to elevate your confidence levels, especially because Mars rules over the third house, which is connected to friendships and co-workers and communications. And then it is also the ruler of the 10th house, which is associated with your career, authority figures, and also being the boss. So this could see you trying really hard to transition and take that next step when it comes to working for yourself, impressing your boss or someone who's in a position of authority with your natural talents and skills. You could be trying to work up the confidence to work effectively in a small group or team or with your co-workers. So this can see you basically doing a bit of a stock take, a personal stock take, if you will, when it comes to what are you afraid of with respect to taking your work to the next level. Okay, so you can be working hard to elevate your own personal sense of autonomy and independence. And Mars is also your willpower. So you could be trying hard to cultivate more willpower when it comes to exploring your passions and your talents. And maybe some of you are working hard on getting ready to start a new business or launch a new business. So now let's have a look at the total lunar eclipse in Taurus. So this will occur on the 8th of November in your fourth house at 15 degrees and 59 minutes. This total lunar eclipse will be conjunct Uranus. It'll be very, very close to Uranus. And also it will be squaring Saturn in Aquarius at 18 degrees and opposing Mercury and Venus. So what we're seeing here is your fourth house being activated, your 10th house being activated, and your first house, which is therefore your sun, moon, or rising in this instance. Because this is occurring in your fourth house, this full moon eclipse will pertain to one or more of the following: property matters, your living circumstances, your personal life, your private life, family matters, whether this is to do with your immediate family, your children, or people that you live with. So your flatmates or your housemates. And also the fourth house is connected to our personal sense of emotional security. So these things, and ancestry and lineage as well. So these areas will be the focus for you around the 8th of November. In fact, it might even be the case now because we are well and truly in eclipse season. We've actually got an eclipse in 4 days' time on the 25th of October, which will be at 2 degrees Scorpio in your 10th house. So ultimately, there's a conversation here between your private life and your public life, and you may feel like your responsibilities are all sort of converging at once, and you have some kind of personal responsibility for these matters because of the square to Saturn. So let's go through one by one how this can play out for you. With respect to property matters and living circumstances, you may be buying or selling around this time. With eclipse events, I'm going to call them, they can happen on the day of the eclipse, of course, so on the 8th of November, but even 3 to 4 weeks before or 3 to 4 weeks after. So you could very well already be aware of what eclipse event is being ushered through for you. Because the eclipse is conjunct Uranus, there's some sort of sense of urgency here, or there's something unpredictable about how things are going to play out. Even if you are aware of what this eclipse is indicating in your life, there are still elements that are unknown or uncertain, or there are, several balls up in the air at once. So on the property front, yes, you could be buying. Now, it could be that you're already looking and you haven't found the property yet, and then you find it around the time of the eclipse, and then there's this sense of urgency where you have to act quickly. Maybe the auction is 1 or 2 weeks from the day that you find it. Maybe someone has already bid on the property and the real estate agent is telling you that you need to put a bid in quickly because this property is about to get sold. On a different note, there could be an opportunity for you to sell. Now, maybe you're not planning on selling your property, but someone knocks on your door and puts forward an offer that is too good to be true. And so now there's like this rush to get things organized. Even if you already have your property on the market, you could have an auction date that is set already, and maybe that's a few weeks away, or maybe your house has only just gone on the market and someone puts an offer in, and this could be time sensitive thanks to the conjunction to Uranus. So obviously those are a few different ways that this could play out. Obviously not everyone's going to be buying or selling. This could look like a change of residence. Maybe you are planning to move out of your parents' house or whoever you live with in a few months' time, but then you receive this opportunity to move in with a friend or with your partner. Maybe this feels premature. Maybe you haven't been dating very long and you're like, well, I need to move anyway. Is this too soon? So you can see how there is some kind of sense of urgency that comes through with the eclipse that directly involves you, given that it makes close aspects to both of your co-rulers, being Uranus and Saturn. Now, the same can be said for breaking lease, renting out your property, having your property rented out as well. There could be a change with the tenants. On a different note, someone could move in with you or move out of your place, and this could seem really sudden. So I think I've mentioned or exhausted every possible way that this could play out on the property front. If I haven't mentioned it, it can still happen. Whatever it is that you're thinking of or wondering about with respect to property matters and living circumstances, yes, it's a possibility because this is happening in your 4th house of property matters. Double points if you are an Aquarius moon, because the moon represents our living circumstances and our current accommodation. So, of course, all of this could be happening very quickly. Now, like I said earlier, the 4th house is connected to family. So, this could see you having some kind of epiphany or breakthrough with your family, Having said that, it could be preceded by some sort of outburst or argument or intense discussion. Certainly doesn't need to be an argument. Basically, though, with the eclipse being conjunct Uranus and square Saturn, and then also opposite Mercury and Venus, which means the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are all in Scorpio together, there is some tension here, but there are some redeeming aspects looking at the chart for the eclipse. So Saturn will be making a trine to Mars. So to me, this looks like a situation could reach a head or its peak or some kind of critical point, and then afterwards there's a breakthrough and we can integrate these changes really well. So on the family front, you may be falling pregnant. It may be unexpected. I would say this is more so for Aquarius risings and Aquarius moons rather than Aquarius suns. Now, on a different note, this could see you reaching a conclusion with your partner or maybe solo about whether or not to start a family, whether or not to expand your family further. Or this could be about reaching a conclusion when it comes to how to start your family or how to expand your family. Meaning, you could be looking at IVF, surrogacy, fostering a child, or adopting a child. And if you are already, if you've already gone down that road, then around the time of the eclipse, you could actually be adopting a child or fostering a child. So basically, eclipses can lead to illuminating circumstances where we understand how a situation that we were wondering about is going to unfold one way or another. And this goes for all eclipses, okay? They're bringing insight to you with whatever house they're taking place in. Now, on a different level, this could see you having an epiphany or realization about your parenting style. And, for some of you, this could be a really positive breakthrough where you're like, out of this tense situation, I'm finally getting it, or I know what not to do next time. The same can be said for being in a pressurized situation, whether this is with your children or with your significant other or both, where you're realizing that you have to change, and maybe it is an uncomfortable realization. So on a different note, you could be walking away from a career that involves fourth house matters. So, fourth house would be a career in property, real estate, working on the land, farming, conservation, agriculture, also caregiving, being a nurse, being a midwife, working with the elderly, working in retirement homes, working with anyone who's unable to care for themselves, no matter what age they are. So there could be some important development if you have a career in one or more of those areas. Having said that, because this is activating the 4th and 10th house axes, it does look like there can be some shifts going on with respect to your career, but bonus points if you have a career in one of those aforementioned areas. So lastly, with this eclipse, because this is an eclipse in your 4th house, which is connected to your childhood and the way you grew up and your emotional your emotional security, I should say, this can see you actually letting go of things that you've been carrying with you since childhood. Maybe this is anger or resentment towards your parents, or for the way that you grew up and the conditions that you lived through, even if your parents were not around. Now, this can see you overcoming certain emotional insecurities, and maybe this is tying in with a change of residence or looking at becoming a parent or some kind of eye-opening situation that you experience with your children, although it doesn't have to be. So Lastly, the fourth house is connected to your ancestry, heritage, and your lineage. So there could be an important discovery about your roots and where you came from. Now, on the 16th of November, Venus is going to enter the sign of Sagittarius. So it will be transiting your 11th house in Sagittarius from the 16th of November until the 10th of December. Wherever Venus goes, we can enjoy whatever that house rules over. So, this is a great time for Aquarians from a social perspective because the 11th house is all about your friends and your wider network, and it is also the house that is naturally associated with Aquarius. So, this can see you enjoying time socializing. There can be more opportunities for you to attend social events. You may be hosting them. You could actually be hosting an event in your home because Venus rules over your fourth house. Essentially speaking, it's more time with your friends, or perhaps you're receiving help and support from your friends, or if there's been difficult relationships, as in difficulties that you've had with certain friendships, this can see you balancing those out and, getting on the same page. Now, the 11th house is connected to large groups and communities. So you could be enjoying time in your chosen group or in your chosen communities. And with the 11th house ruling over your wider network, this can see you being introduced to more people, and maybe these introductions will be to people who are highly educated or very influential, or perhaps they are foreigners. So maybe they're from a different country to the one that you grew up in, or so on and so on and so forth. And I'm saying that because Venus rules over the 9th house, which is connected to foreign countries, education, etc. The 11th house represents our long-term goals and dreams for the future. So you could be receiving help with these dreams that you have, and maybe you're collaborating with other people on these projects. Now, on the 19th of November, Mars retrograde in Gemini will square Neptune in Pisces. So Mars will be in your 5th house, squaring Neptune in Pisces in your 2nd house at 22 degrees. We've already experienced this eclipse once before, recently, and that was on the 12th of October, so just 9 days ago. So if you cast your mind back to that time, you may see that there are similar themes cropping up when you get to the 19th of November. And obviously, we're a little while away from that now. So even if you look back at that point in time, just 9 days ago, that can give you an idea of what you can sort of expect around the 19th of November. Also, the last square will be on the 14th of March in 2023. So this square can pose some, challenging energy. So basically, Mars is the action that we take and the goals that we have and the direction that we want to go in. Neptune can be confusion, forgetfulness, sacrifice, and in some instances, loss. The reason why I am mentioning the negative manifestations or the lower vibration of Neptune is because this is a square aspect, and squares are associated with a challenge or an obstacle. That doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome is going to be bad. It's just that the energy surrounding this date, and perhaps a few days before and a few days after, could be something that goes as follows. You may be unsure about what action to take with your business with respect to your finances. The same can be said for a creative project that you want to work on or that you are working on, or a passion or a hobby of yours. Maybe you're not sure if you'll have the resources that you need to continue with this or to start this. On a different note, your partner, so your romantic partner or your child, if you have children, may want you to invest in something or spend money that you're not super comfortable with. So that's where we get this sense of sacrifice coming in, with Neptune being in your 2nd house, which represents your personal finances. If you have children, and it could even be nieces and nephews. It doesn't just need to be your own children. this could see them asking you, please, can you buy this for me? Can you, do this with me? Or play this game with me, and somehow maybe you're not comfortable with that. Now, you may be feeling confused around this time when it comes to how to make money with your talents that you naturally have. Maybe there's some uncertainty or lack of confidence when it comes to being able to monetize your skills and talents. And, for some of you, this could just be insecurities when it comes to, do you have what it takes? Do you have the charisma, the natural talent, the charm, etc.? So essentially, this can lead to feeling unsure of yourself, being unsure of your actual worth or value. And even though this is a general reading and I'm not qualified to give you legal advice, I just want to say that if it can be avoided, it might be a good idea to avoid making big financial decisions on the 19th of November, plus or minus a few days. And these financial decisions are in relation to creative projects, your business or a business idea, your children, your romantic partner. Essentially, there is an element of financial risk that comes through with this transit, where we may be inclined to roll the dice, risk it for the biscuit, but then the trade-off could be not great, if I can put it that way. So again, it's a general reading. Take it any which way that it resonates with you. A positive way that this can manifest is that the uncertainty around your natural gifts and talents could be there, but that doesn't mean that you're not good. It could just be in your mind, but actually you're amazing at what you do. And, maybe you go out and you give this creative performance, or you start this business idea and it's actually really successful. So there could just be the lack of confidence from within, but that is not a determining factor for the actual outcome. So lastly, for the month, let's have a look at the new moon in Sagittarius. This is a wonderful new moon, and this is going to have a positive impact on Aquarians, generally speaking. On the 23rd or the 24th of November, depending where you live in the world, there will be a new moon in Sagittarius in your 11th house at 1 degrees, and it will be conjunct Mercury and Venus. So new moons are all about a new chapter taking place, or we're planting the seeds to start something new. We're setting the intention. This is like the first indicator that we're heading in this new direction. So the 11th house, as I mentioned earlier, is all about your friends, your wider network, large groups, communities, a long-term goal or project or dream of yours. Also, it's connected to events and socialization just in general, because it is an air house, it's a social house, it's a business house. And so this can see you making new friends, maybe joining a new friendship group or finding a new friendship group, joining a new community. And this is an invitation. Thank you, Venus sextile Aquarius. So this can see you feeling like you're being welcomed, you're being included. Maybe this is just an event that you are committing to in the future, and you've just got a good feeling about it. Like, if I go to this, I feel like I'm going to meet new people or make new friends, or I'm going to have a good time. Maybe you yourself are the one who is planning an event. Now, this can see you just setting goals to meet new people, make new friends, find a new friendship group or a community of like-minded people. They don't even have to be like-minded people. They can just be like-oriented people, as I like to say. So you may not want to meet carbon copies of yourself, but you want to meet people who are on your wavelength, who you can have a good time with. So if friendship is important to you, and I know it is because you're Aquarius, and you feel like there's space in your life now for new friends, for a new community, for a new friendship group, set the intention with the new moon 12 to 72 hours after the new moon that this is what you want to welcome into your life. Now, you could be setting a new goal, starting a new project, or just the inspiration can come through for a new dream of yours. Now, with Venus ruling over your ninth house and your fourth house, this could be to study something, to travel. You could be looking at buying a property. Maybe you want to save for a property or just get your dream house, even if you're not buying a property. Maybe you're with Mercury ruling over your fifth house and your eighth house. Maybe your long-term goal is connected to starting your own business or pursuing a passion or a hobby of yours. Or it could be increasing your combined wealth with your significant other, with Mercury ruling over your eighth house. And of course, this could be the birth of a new website, a new social media account, a new invention, or a new innovation. Long story short, you're feeling creatively inspired. This is an amazing time to set new goals and plant the seeds for something that you want to achieve in the future. And just a few minutes after the new moon, Jupiter will be stationing direct in the sign of Pisces in your 12th house. So this can see you feeling like you're understanding messages that may have been coming through in meditation or in dreams. This can see you getting back into that practice and again, feeling divinely inspired. And so, Aquarius, that's all I have for you for November 2022. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. My 2023 yearly horoscopes are all filmed, they're all done. They will be released, but sometime before I go live with my December horoscopes. So keep an eye out for those over the next few weeks. Enjoy November, and I'll see you guys in December.